Hello and welcome to the British Dapper, and today we're talking about masculinity and the modern gent. So recently I did a series of videos in London that were related to the current look and trends in London, and talking about field jackets and about heavy tweed jackets and the heavier versions of a field jacket, in that they were introducing tweeds in that overall look, along with heavy jumpers and those corduroy trousers at this time of the year. But interestingly, I came across an article only a few days ago which was by Vogue magazine, and it was related to Petit, which is an annual or biannual trade fair in Florence, where they were picking up on the current trends that were being demonstrated there by people attending and promoting certain looks for their businesses. And it was quite interesting to see that they classified it as a masculine look, very much a traditional masculine look in the way that people were dressing. So they were wearing traditional suits, heavy material suits. They were wearing double-breasted overcoats, proper shoes, not trainers or anything like that. They were wearing ties, and the sort of accompaniments to that, for example, the accessories were heavy framed watches that gave that overall look of a masculine vibe, if you like. And it's quite interesting to see that over the years people have dressed down that look to make it much more relaxed, and now we seem to be going the other way, where we've become more rigid in the way that we dress and the way we look from a fashion point of view. So we are seeing those more traditional suits being introduced, and much cleaner lines, and the finish on the way people dress is less flamboyant and more crisp, if you like, in its look. And it's not just suits, and I've identified 5 key areas that I feel that you can increase your masculinity. I'm not talking about dragging your knuckles on the ground like aggressiveness. We're talking about having that aura, if you like, purveying that image of being a gentleman, yet we're also looking at that masculine approach. Something that springs to mind is that recently a young lady was talking to my wife, and she talked about her partner wearing a suit for the first time, and she was very excited at the fact he was going to wear a suit at this specific event that they were attending. And she, along with my wife, attunes wearing a suit to a very masculine look. And the relationship, for example, of 007 James Bond wearing suits is very much considered by a lot of women as very masculine in its look. There are a number of things that, as I've just said, suits is one of them. I think a good, well-fitted suit that's been tailored to your specific body measurements, that has been tailored so the cuff falls in the right place, the trousers break at the right point, and the shoulders fit nicely in the suit. I think you have straight away a very dominant look. Doesn't mean that you have to act dominantly, but the overall look, the aesthetic of that suit, along with a nice pair of polished shoes, does purvey that image of not necessarily superiority, because that's not what we're looking for, but of that person that knows what he's about, comfortable in his own suit, the way he dresses, his behaviour is appropriate for being a gentleman, but at the same time not a soft touch either. that is where I consider that look and the way that you conduct yourself exudes that masculinity. Something else that you might consider is that when we're talking about those outfits, although suits are quite common and relate well to that masculine look, the next look I'm going to suggest is a tweed jacket. Now, it is very much a crisp look. It's an informal look compared to wearing a suit. And I think if it's worn properly with a decent pair of brogue shoes, even if it's not worn with a tie, but a pair of cavalry twill trousers or a decent pair of chino or flannel trousers, along with maybe a tie, maybe a roll neck jumper, but it is quite a strong look. And again, if you're comfortable wearing that look and you conduct yourself in a way that is not offensive, but you know where you are, you know what you're about, and you conduct yourself appropriately, then I think it's quite a good look for another form of portraying that masculinity. The third option I'm going to go for is that blazered look. Now, I know that a lot of people will say, well, they're a little bit dated. And when I say blazered, I mean the more formal dressed version of that. But I think a blazer with metal buttons, typically they are bronze or brass buttons, along with a regimental tie or a striped tie, college tie, something along those lines, along with some grey flannel trousers and some black shoes. Now they could be, for example, brogue shoes, they could be cap-toe Oxfords, or they could be something very similar, maybe even a black loafer. Would go really well, and it is a crisp look and relates to a lot of military people of some description or another. So it does in a way purvey that masculine look, and accompanied by the manner and way that you conduct yourself, you can purvey that look of masculinity again. Something else I would like to discuss is that next level up, or that next item that I think would purvey that masculine look, and that is the fourth item, which is an overcoat, and I mean a heavy wool overcoat. Typically a double-breasted one. I would suggest a navy one goes really well, and it goes really well over those suits, those other items we've talked about. For example, the blazered look or the suit look adds another layer to it and still purveys that image of masculinity. There are other forms of that as well. So for example, it could be a beige or a camel coloured one as well. That is typically an historical look that still looks good to this day. The other thing I'm going to suggest is that roll neck jumper. It does purvey a masculine look, and it goes really well under those tweed jackets, or it could look really good underneath that heavy wool coat that we were talking about earlier. And it goes really well with jeans and a pair of brogue shoes or boots or Chelsea boots. And it also goes extremely well even with a suit to a certain degree, as long as it's an informal suit. But I think those 5 items, worn correctly, purvey an image of masculinity. And that brings me on to behaviours as well. So whilst women love the idea of a man in a suit or that particular look, and they like the idea of masculinity, There is a difference between being a gentleman being or purveying masculinity to that of somebody being thuggish and abrupt and behaving inappropriately. That's a completely different thing. That doesn't make somebody masculine. It's that fine balance where, in my opinion, masculinity is having strength of character and showing that, but not having to enforce that. So it's the way that you talk to people, the way you engage with people, the way you dress, the way your deportment is, the way you manage yourself, the way you move, behave. All that comes into that image of masculinity. So I'm interested to know what your ideas on this subject is, especially in this day and age where it seems to be a lot of people are very cautious about purveying that image of masculinity or being masculine and trying to dull down that image maybe. So I'm interested in your views. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give us a thumbs up. If you'd like to subscribe, then please feel free to do so. We have a Buy Me a Coffee page, so if you'd like to make a contribution to the channel, then please feel free to do so. We also love constructive comments, so if you'd like to make some, jot them down below. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. And if you've got a question you'd like to pose to us or you'd like an answer to, then why not jot it down? We'll try and answer your question for you. We also like ideas for future videos, so if you want to make a contribution and make a suggestion about future content, then please, again, jot it in the notes below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. The next video could be something that you've recommended or suggested. So until next time, take care.